jerk chicken, patties, two Jamaican classics. Well, I'm going to combine them together to make a pulled jerk chicken patty that you won't find anywhere else.
Most chicken patty recipes just use chunks of chicken or mush, but chicken patties taste way better when the chicken is pulled, because not only does it create a more tender and succulent jerk chicken patty, but it also means that every bite is the best you've ever experienced. And in my proven 8-step process, I'll also be showing you the master techniques to get flaky patty pastry so good you never trust another patty but your own. I'm Zymaka and I'm obsessed with making the world's best patties. Ready? Let's go. Warning, this recipe takes approximately 6 hours to make 12 patties and only for people who want to make authentic Jamaican patties. Everything else is just an imitation. Zymaka cannot take responsibility if you're a silly village brony who skips a step and gets poor results because you were too impatient. Tradition has maintained these steps for a reason. Stick to the instructions. Batteries not included. Terms and conditions apply. First, take your 600 grams of refrigerated butter and chop it into really thin slices. You'll need to work quickly so they don't melt. Now, it's a crime that most bakery patties use margarine or shortening, which are ultra-processed hydrogenated fats. Instead, we stick with the timeless butter. Keeping your butter and your ingredients cold is the first master step to having insanely flaky patties, and many take this step lightly. However, you came here for super flaky. If you notice melting butter at any time in this recipe, put your butter in the fridge or a quick spill in the freezer, especially if you're in a warm kitchen. And later on in the video, I'll share the second and third steps to ensure unbeatable flaky patties. Once all chopped, put back in the fridge. Then comes the annatto. This is what gives our patties that wonderful yellow to orange color. Add 2.5 tablespoons of olive oil to a pan and then add 2.5 tablespoons of annatto seeds. This should be on a gentle heat to simmer the seeds for 3 minutes. I actually prefer annatto powder, but I couldn't get hold of any on this time. It's just less preparation time. Once cooked, strain the seeds and cover with cling film and put the annatto oil in the fridge to cool. It needs to be really cold before using later. Just look at that beautiful, deep, rich red color. Next, put your water and flour in the fridge and let's make our filling. First, you'll need to boil 550 grams of chicken breasts for shredding. Submerge your chicken in water or broth in a pan, bring it to a boil and immediately reduce the heat to a low simmer. Add salt and black pepper to your liquid to infuse flavor directly into the meat. Breast meat takes approximately 15 minutes once turned to a simmer, chicken thigh 20.
Okay, so while this meat simmers, let me show you how to make the famous jerk marinade.
Although if you're using chicken thigh, then you can half all the following ingredients as they won't absorb like in the breast meat. Put all the following ingredients into a blender. 60 milliliters of apple cider vinegar, 60 milliliters of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of lime zest. You'll need to grate it, but it gets you this incredible color. Oh yeah. 30 milliliters of the juice from the limes, 30 milliliters of olive oil, if you can extra virgin for the supreme fruity flavor, 1 tablespoon of fresh thyme leaves, 3 spring onions, scallions if you call them that, roughly chopped, 4 cloves of garlic, 1 teaspoon of fresh ginger, 2 to 4 Scotch bonnet peppers. Delicious but deadly hot.
These are seriously hot.
Don't say I didn't warn you, but damn, they're worth it. 1 tablespoon of dark muscovado sugar, 3/4 tablespoons of ground allspice berries or powder, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Now, red stripe beer is often used in jerk marinades, but sadly, I just discovered that it has glucose syrup, which I consider poison. So instead, I chose a wheat beer. It has beautiful Caribbean flavors like cloves and orange peel, but you can use any beer. You'll need 60 milliliters of beer and just blend it all together. Once your meat has boiled and simmered for 15 minutes, remove the chicken from the heat and let it rest in the broth for 5 minutes. This locks in the juices and yields incredibly tender chicken. Remove the chicken from the water and shred the chicken like a cat. My technique for shredding is really easy. Just hold down the breast with one fork and then with the other start pouring away like a cat on a sofa, small intentional tears. This will get you the perfect shred for mouth-watering jerk chicken. Now, you might be worried as this recipe uses a more liquidy marinade than many are used to for jerk. However, remember when I said that breast can absorb a lot of liquid? Well, check this out. It absorbs like crazy. Just remember, don't pour all of it. You'll need 3 tablespoons of jerk filling to put aside for your basting sauce later. Give that at least 1 hour in the fridge, 2 to 4 hours for best results. To start, add to a large bowl 800 grams of all-purpose plain flour, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. Here I'm using panela, which is a higher mineral content sugar, but any will do. Give it a quick stir. 600 grams of thinly sliced butter. You can pour it all in, but you don't want the pieces to stick, so I pull them apart quickly with my hands. Give it a stir as you add the butter pieces. You don't have to add your cold annatto to your cold water like I'm doing. You can do them separately. This was just an experiment to see if the annatto distributed more evenly this way. You'll start with 120 milliliters milliliters of water, but there's a reason I can't give you a final amount that I'll share with you in a sec. Scrape off your spoon, mix with a knife or fork for easier mixing, and then you'll switch to your hands in a sec. Now this is your second super tip for how to get these insanely flaky. You need to watch out, because if you add too much water here, then you'll lose the flake. But here's the catch. Too little water and your mixture will fall apart. So contrary to a lot of online recipes, if you do make a mistake, then it's actually better to have a bit too much water than too little. By the way, I'm using the back and front of my hands to push the dough down and then bring a new layer on top from the back of the bowl. It's not kneading, it's firmly pushing it down. Here I'm just removing some dough from my bowl that I'll come back to, as my bowl is really not big enough, so you can do the same if you need more room. Just go slowly. That's the trick when pouring water, and then you'll never need to worry about too much or too little. I safely always use at least 220 milliliters of water in total. Also, don't forget, patty makers, that if our dough at this point or any point in the process gets too warm, then you have to put it in the fridge or even the freezer to stop that butter warming up. Especially in the freezer, 5 to 10 minutes is all it takes. Look at that beauty. It was actually a bit warm in my kitchen. I got caught by surprise, so I have to take a quick pause, put in some cling film, and I stick it in my freezer for 10 minutes before the next step. After that quick cool in the freezer, we are ready for the next step. It's essential that you square the dough in the cling film before putting in the fridge, because the shape that the dough rests in will be the shape you roll it out in. Use your rolling pin or hands to flatten down the ball to a rough square shape. Then once it's in a flatter mass, put it in cling film, but not just any cling film. You need to make a cross of 2 pieces of cling film. Place the dough in the middle and fold the 4 sides of the cling film over. Your cling film needs about 1 inch of slack on each side to make a square shape. Then flatten out with your rolling pin. This is genius because it takes all the hard work out and we'll get a neat piece of dough, and more importantly, less handling keeps the butter cold. Also gives more chilling because a thick ball chills slower. However, a flat square chills even quicker, and so the cold penetrates more uniformly, so that means the dough reaches a consistent temperature throughout. Now, it was all going according to plan for me, but then came the surprise. I ignored my own advice, and instead of doing 1 inch slack, I did more like 2-3 inches of space. You can see that I'm not able to get the dough to reach the corners, which is why I had to work really quickly now to solve the problem. I pull off all the cling film super fast because I know the butter's getting warmer and I don't have much time to recover this. I fold the dough on itself to get the right rectangle shape, and this time I do give myself the correct 1 inch and manage to recover. Phew, crisis averted. Stick that in the fridge for at least 1 to 2 hours. Next, we need to make the jerk jam. Finely chop the following ingredients: 1 large red bell pepper, 1 large orange or yellow pepper, 1 large green bell pepper, 4 red onions. With onions, it gets emotional. And with a few generous glugs of olive oil on a low to medium heat, fry the veggies and reduce them down into a rich stew-like consistency. You can put a lid on them to help them reduce more effectively. This will take about 15 minutes in total, but be careful and make sure you lift the lid and stir frequently, as they can suddenly stick and burn easily. Once reduced down, leave to cool. Now, before you make fun of me, yes, I know that jam probably isn't the most accurate name, but I think it sounds cool, so I'm sticking with it. I'm a rebel, so I use my freezer for both the chicken and the jam to cool for approximately 20 minutes to help speed the cooling process, and then switch to the fridge. However, be really safe if you copy this method and make sure there's nothing in your freezer that you care about, because it will heat anything else up. Next, we create our jerk basting sauce to mix with the jam. Add the following ingredients to a pan on a medium heat: 3 tablespoons of our jerk seasoning, 60 milliliters of pineapple juice, 60 milliliters of soy sauce, 80 milliliters of beer, 1 tablespoon of muscovado or brown sugar, 3/4 teaspoons of tomato puree. Stir and reduce down to a more concentrated liquid so there's enough to pour over your jam veggies, but not so much that they're swimming in sauce. Cool in the fridge before adding to the jam. Douche.
Okay, so it's time for the lamination. Now, this is actually the third part where most bakery patties and online recipes fail again and again and again. They often just roll out the dough, which means no real flaky crust development. But we want crisp, flaky layers that almost shatter when they're bitten into, not soggy, chewy patties.
Lamination will turn you into a pro patty maker with flakier pastry than you ever dreamed of. And it's so easy if you follow these steps. Lightly dust your surface and your dough and roll it to a length 3 times longer than it is wide. I like to press the rolling pin down into the dough to help roll it out. Once you've got your length, you fold it into thirds, starting with the bottom bit and then like a letter rolling over to the top. Then we turn it 90 degrees so you're rolling in the direction of the seam. That's now made us 3 layers of flake, which isn't bad, but I'm going to show you how to get 729 layers of flake. To do this, you'll need to repeat 5 more times for a total of 6. Remember, that if it starts to warm up, then you need to pause and put it in the fridge freezer. And you might be asking, how does 6 times get us 729 layers of flake? Okay, so each time those 3 layers get multiplied. So it starts off as 3 layers, but when you do it a second time, 3 times 3 is 9 on the second round. Third time of the sequence, 9 times 3 layers is 27 layers. Fourth time, 27 layers times 3 is 81 layers. On the 5th time, 81 layers times 3 is 243 layers. And finally, on the 6th time, 243 layers times 3 creates 729 layers of flake. This is how we get an incredibly flaky patty. Cut down the dough into 5 even pieces, as this will make it easy to roll out when you're assembling your patties. Now that looks like hundreds of buttery layers to me. Next step, wrap your dough and put it in the freezer for 15 minutes and in the fridge for at least another 15 minutes afterwards.
Okay, so it's finally time to assemble everything together. We've got our jerk chicken, we've got our jerk jam. Let's put it all together.
But first, the dough. To assemble our patties, first dust the surface and your dough with flour and roll out. The trick is to try not to add too much flour, because too much flour can cause tough patties. So we want to use as little flour as possible, but enough to prevent sticking. I'm still mastering this one myself. And honestly, it's okay to use a little extra flour to help you work the dough, as it can be tricky. But over time, you'll notice that you get better at using less additional flour. Roll out the dough to just over 40 centimeters length and 20 centimeters width. Each piece of dough will get you 2 patties, and the offcuts we'll use after to get our final 2 patties to make a total of 12. I use a bowl with a diameter of 20 centimeters to create my shape. It's the perfect patty size. However, you're likely to have a different size bowl. Not a problem. I'll share how to calculate your filling size based on your bowl in a moment. So press your bowl down to make your 2 circles. I use a pizza cutter to finish off where my bowl couldn't press down hard enough. And then I take the scraps and put them immediately back into the fridge because they are precious. I weigh out 90 grams of filling for the perfect balance of crust to filling ratio. I then put the filling in the middle of my circle. Also, do not ignore this step for your jerk and your jam. You need to drain any liquid in a sieve if runny. Otherwise, liquid in our patty will leak through or even break the dough. So the quantity of filling that we use is really important, because too little filling and it will just be flake, but too much filling and your patty will be a thin layer of pastry with tons of filling. Some people love these options. I prefer balance for my patties. Next, pull one side of your half moon shape over to the other side. Squeeze the edges with your fingers, but you need to be careful to stay clear of the filling. If moisture reaches the edges, then it will be hard for them to seal and your patty will likely split open, so you need dry hands. Also, don't have flour on your hands, as if you get this between the edges, it won't stick and then it will leak open in the oven again. Honestly, there's a lot of ways for it to leak, but just follow these steps and you'll be fine. Also, the more filling, the more tricky to seal without it bursting open in the oven. Luckily, the good thing about patties is that even when they burst a little, they still look amazing, so don't fret if you add too much filling. 90 grams of filling is the perfect balance for me. I use 70 grams for the chicken, 20 grams for the jam. In case you're feeling adventurous and want to try more or less filling, then 100 grams of filling still works really well and is easy to seal. 110 grams is close to the max with more filling, less flake, and requires more speed at sealing the patty. 120 grams of filling will be a challenge to seal and less pastry, but with quick fingers can still be done. 80 grams is too much pastry for me, but you might love extra pastry and less filling, so experiment. Again, my guidelines are based on my 20 centimeter bowl. A simple hack to get my same quantity if you have a different size bowl is just to ask AI to make the equivalent ratio for you of 20 centimeter bowl to 90 grams of filling. Once you've sealed the edges with your fingers, use a fork for that authentic Jamaican patty look. If your dough is too dry to seal, then simply dip your fork in a glass of water and shake off any excess moisture before pressing down. Oh, and you might not have heard me say this before, but you need to be fast. I know I've said it a lot, but you don't want to take your foot off the gas at this stage. The butter melting is a real danger if your kitchen is hot like mine, so chop patty people. So next step is crucial. Wrap them and put them in the freezer for 1 hour. This means the butter is at the perfect temperature to cook without melting. Preheat the oven to 190 degrees. And after 1 hour in the freezer, place on a tray with a protective paper. Cook for 25 to 30 minutes. Also, if you get the greatest chicken patty you've ever had from this video, then I'd love if you'd subscribe, and let's keep mastering Jamaican patties together. Everything looked fine until I saw that they had split out a bit on the sides. I had overlooked one thing. I forgot to fry the jerk meat before filling. But honestly, they were incredible, so nothing lost. If you do fry the filling, however, just fry the meat. No oil, on a low heat for 3 minutes to get that more barbecue-like effect. You would do this before you laminate the dough so it has time to cool.
Okay, so now you know this insane recipe for the pulled jerk chicken patty recipe. You will never eat another bakery patty again. because you can just make it yourself 100 times better.